Greetings, everybody. We have returned once again on the Sunday evenings for your entertainment purposes. Tonight, we're going to be getting into looking at the CJRB Gobi, or CJRB. And
Joe, there's a picture of it on the stump that by far is the prettiest picture you should have as the highlighting one if you're going to do it. Cause
on the stump, you say?
Yeah, it was good. It was good lighting on the blade.
On the stump.
I don't have one on the stump. Oh, yes. Multiple stumps.
Yes.
Yeah, small. You do.
It's a bushy stump.
There we go.
It's a bushy stump.
I don't want to hear any more about that.
You know, if you trimmed it back, it wouldn't look so stumpy.
There you go. Or bushy.
That too.
Tell me I'm wrong in my statement now that you see.
You're not a horticulturalist. You don't know these things. Anyway.
Before we get too much further into the evening, and I can keep my words proper, I'm going to make sure to remind everyone to sign up for our giveaway that we're doing for the 500 subscriber flagship goal postmark something words that we did.
How did postmarks get in there?
I don't know. I was trying to think of like as many like defining like sort of terminologies.
All right.
But yeah, watch the January 3rd part 3 episode. It was posted up on January 10th. Watch that video, find the question, and answer in the comments, and you too will be entered into the giveaway draw.
Yes.
Yay!
And then just follow us on Instagram. Just do it. We're trying to get to 1,000.
Have we hit 1,000, or is all those Damascus knife guys taking a break?
Have not. Every new one I get, I think a Damascus person leaves because we've stayed consistent. I've gotten 5 follows this week. We have stayed with the same consistent number all week, so I'm a little confused. Also, what's going on, Mr. Fisk?
Hey.
Evening, everybody's.
I guess we should probably talk about what we're carrying tonight.
Probably.
Yeah.
I
guess I'll start.
No.
Here's some
with the focus bacon. Sorry, you were saying something, Nigel?
Got my Bob Little folder from Spyderco with the nishishin.
Yes.
I'm also rocking a Spyderco ES90 native.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Triple Spydercos tonight.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
I'm the odd one out.
Although everyone had carbon fiber of some form as well. If you count the nishishin,
yeah. I'm going to count as a sexy woven material. It falls in that category.
We all have sexy woven materials. That sentence is not nearly as nice to hear out loud.
No, I like it. Maybe I'm biased.
Hey, Paul. Sexy woven materials.
It wouldn't matter what you said in that voice. I wouldn't like it.
There was a fine line between sexy and kind of scary, creepy serial killer voice going on in that. You could have put.
Oh, it was all serial killer right across the board.
Not sure.
Yeah, that's my sexy voice.
I am aware.
I don't know if anyone heard my chinchilla screaming there, but he says
he's into it.
Appropriately timed.
Fearful screeching. Yeah, no.
After Nigel's little rant there, I would have screamed too. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand, Professor.
The professor hasn't moved, so I don't know.
Let's get on with something.
Yeah.
So a review, you say?
Yeah.
Right, we're going to review a knife today.
This one, in fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a couple different variants out there. This one happens to be the Jade Green G10. Jade green. People have opinions.
They sure do.
And how did you not know there was a clone 462? There's several versions. Just because CJRB happens to make one of them, like.
Having handled both, this one's better. In hand.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
That's a Paul moment, I think.
Yeah,
I can go first.
Yeah, might as well start on a high note.
Yeah. I think I actually am the high note for this week. I'm suspecting, because I gave it a 78, which is a B.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the objective side of things, cost versus materials, I gave it a 9 because it's right up there, I would say, with like competing with the QSP Penguin. D2 coming in at a decent price. Ceramic ball bearings instead of the micarta, but still a nice G10 handle. And anodized aluminum backspacers. So pretty nice for what you're getting. Fit and finish. I knocked it a few points here because there was definitely some blade impacting the backspacer issues.
Let me pull that picture up just to illustrate that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Illustrate my point, Joe.
It's right there.
Do those things.
There's a delay. It's already been done.
Can you see the point that I'm making? It's been illustrated.
All right, I'm putting your spreadsheet back up. Keep talking.
Thank you. What's going on, Darren?
Hey, Darren.
Cutting ability, I gave it an 8. It actually sliced pretty nice, both before and after it was resharpened. It has a pretty decent geometry. Yeah. Ergonomic execution, I gave a 7 because it fits my hand pretty well, but I can imagine there are people out there with extra large hands who would not fit. And it has killer action, so I gave it a 9 for lockup and actuation because it locks up solid, and it fires like a friggin' piston.
It's a pretty poppy flipper for sure.
Indeed. On the personal side of things, I gave it 7 for material choice. It lost a point just because I'm not a huge fan of the JG10. It's not my favorite material, although I do appreciate its ability to be changed if you want to re-dye it. Aesthetic, pocket ergos, and ergonomic preference, I gave it 8s. Because I like the way this looked. I really wanted to like ZT's 462, even though it was a little pinchy in my hand. Where the 462 is the big one. The 460 is the only one that I ever got a chance to handle, and it was a little pinchy.
That was like 450 sized, roughly.
Yeah, I think this is actually closer to what the 460, not the 462. The smaller version. Yeah.
A little bit.
As far as size reference goes, yeah.
Just a little bit bigger, a little bit. I don't know if it's less curved or just longer in the handle, so it fits a little more comfortably. The pocket clip, as far as pocket ergos, it's almost effortless. Like it's not a wire clip. We've established that nothing is a wire clip. But
not even a wire clip. Sorry.
I will flog wire clips.
Dirty.
Indeed.
There's a big space. It's
Indeed. Ergonomic preference, I gave an 8 as well because it fits my hand pretty damn nicely. And then enthusiasm, I gave a 7. And it was an 8, but I docked it a point because it was impacting the liner, and that kind of made me a little bit sad. So there.
Fair enough.
All right.
Next review. Or score or something.
Sure, I'll go. I wasn't quite as nice to this knife. I really wanted to like it, and I liked a lot of aspects of it, but I gave it a 70, which is a C.
You got 2 asterisks on there? Come on, man.
It's for the same reason, but it affected both scores.
All right, I'll let you get to it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, you know what? Yeah, I may as well talk about that first, because I did have a pretty big problem with this knife. The fact that the blade, when it closed, came into contact with that part of the spacer repeatedly, and I'm presuming that's actually what damaged the tip of this knife, was not super cool. That's not something that should happen with any folder at any price point. You shouldn't have blade on spacer contact. Now, I don't know whether this knife was a lemon. I don't know if this is just a fault by design, so because of that, it gets an asterisk. But otherwise, objectively, I really like this knife. Cost materials, just like Paul said, D2 and G10 and anodized aluminum, they're all great points. Cutting ability, it's a fun little slicer. It's relatively thin behind the edge. It's pretty workable. Lockup and actuation, I still might buy this knife just for the flipping action, like if I could find it cheap enough, because it's very fun to flip, very addictive. Personal side of things, again, the ergonomic preference. Sorry, I guess no, those 2 asterisks weren't related. I did change my score a few times. The grip on this thing.
These asterisks are suspicious all of a sudden.
They are a little bit, yeah. A
little sus there, Joe.
Yeah, sorry. A little bit. They're not what they seem to be. No, they do. It might just be me, but the corners on this clip feel remarkably sharp when I'm holding it and giving it a good squeeze, as if I were to start working hard with it. The back end, right where my pinky rests, it's such a hot spot for me. And the only thing I can think of is that clip just adds enough dimensionality to it that it's uncomfortable. The asterisk is because, again, it might just be a me problem, but it's a pretty big problem for me. Like, I wouldn't ever carry this knife with the clip. So there's that. Otherwise,
that's crazy talk. That's just crazy talk, man.
Well, that's just it. It's super uncomfortable.
Is it a 2-screw up and down? I believe, isn't it?
It sure is. Yeah.
I wonder if you could get like a ZT style that wasn't a deep carry, and that would change the ergos on it.
The spacing isn't quite right on this guy, but you might be able to round out some of those holes a little, make it work.
I was just throwing it out there. I don't know.
No, that's a fair point. If you could find an aftermarket clip cheap enough, why not? Aesthetics gets an 8. Pocket ergonomics gets an 8. I think this knife looks really cool. I love the lines of it, but I also like the lines on the ZT, so, take it for what it is. My enthusiasm's a 6, because until I see more iterations of this, and I see them not clipping the tip of the knife into the aluminum backspacer, I'm a little hesitant to recommend this to people. But hopefully this is just a lemon, and that's all it is. Yeah.
Indeed. I think Darren's onto us, for the record.
Uh-oh. About what?
He's saying Joe has been paid enough by the maker to give it a better score.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
So, does that mean the makers are like stealing money from me?
Uh-oh.
Because I'm usually so hatery on stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
they take the money away from you and they give it to like Dennis, apparently.
On that note, how hatery were you, Nigel?
I was pretty hatery.
All right. Let's see it. I'm calling you
out. All right.
Ooh. All right.
Where did it go here?
There's like a 22-point spread between me and Nigel.
Yeah.
28.
I came down to a 64, giving it a good solid D.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta like those solid Ds.
Objectively speaking, it did pretty good. Other than the 1.7 I gave it for the cost versus fit and finish, which for the reasons already discussed with the tip issue and stuff like that, I gave it 8s across the board.
I hate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I deeply enjoy that.
It's always fun to do.
Mute Nigel's report. I don't care. You can see his personal. It's Nigel. You know what his personal is. He doesn't like anything. My turn. Anyway, no.
Personal side of things, I tried to still stay objective with the material choice and keep the color aspect out of it. just thinking about G10 and the D2 and whatnot, and gave it a 7 for that because it's not bad. Personally, I bloody hate the look of JG10. It drives me nuts that it's a thing. It's so annoying. So I gave it a 3 for the aesthetics for that, plus it's too curved for me. I find it's just gotten past the point of looking decent. It's just a little too much. But that oddly leads into the ergonomic execution. I was oddly torn about this thing.
Yeah.
And you didn't put an asterisk? It's
no, I didn't, because I can talk about things without asterisks on them.
I might forget things, okay?
But yeah, no, because of how curved this thing is, it's actually fairly comfortable. But the weird thing is I hate pistol grippy knives that like lean forward and point forward more, which this one definitely does. But because of how swept back the blade is, it kind of balanced that out.
All right.
So
you could put your thumb on it and it kind of like straightened out.
Yeah.
I understand completely.
Yeah. So being so torn on it, I just had to be in the middle ground and give it a 5. And then enthusiasm, especially for this version with the JG10, and like I mentioned about the odd aesthetics of it, I gave it a 3. It's definitely not my bag.
That's fair.
All right.
That's fair.
See what I said.
It's not not quite as hatery as I imagined it was going to be, but yeah.
No. It was there. It was there.
But you don't hear me disagreeing all that much.
No, they're all pretty valid points.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it up a little bit, but not quite as much as you sons of bitches, that's for sure. So,
okay.
Yeah, my last review, I gave it a 68, which is a C. So, like, right in the C, scraping by type of category, almost the C minus. But, so everyone dabbled on everything already, except for the fit and finish, I gave a 6. Now, the big reason I gave that one a 6 was actually, yes, it hit the inside, and we all talked about that already. I'm hoping that's a lemon and it's not a recurring thing. They under-sharpened the blade, maybe, hopefully, and maybe it just needed a little more ground off the edge, and that's why. The big thing for me is I actually did take this knife apart because there were some major centering issues, and I think one of the reasons that there was a centering issue was the D-ring pivot. It's actually, first of all, 2 torques on a D-ring pivot pisses me off so much.
I know. So misleading.
There's a fake one.
Yep.
So you're trying to figure out if it's a dual or not and wondering why it's not uncranking. But not just that, when you got it apart, there was a lot of play in the D pivot itself when it was keyed in. Whereas a lot of knives, especially Benchmates, things like that, the Sleech buoy, when you key that thing in, it only goes in very solid and it's rock solid. It doesn't move at all. Whereas I did find, and I think that's the big cause of why there's also left and right play, is because the pivot does have some room to move around and shift. So even if you got the tightening just perfect, and that might just be a lemon on this part too, but there's 2 lemons on this knife, so it's a hard one for me, right? So everything else, 8s across the board. I hate you all.
You did say it, I was going to.
So personal side of things, material choice. Yeah, G10, regardless of jade or not, and D2, that's good and fine. Part of this as well was the price point. Paul did dabble on the price of the penguin, but this is realistically, especially in Canadian dollars, like $20, $30 more. And yes, there's some trade-offs. You're getting anodized aluminum and ball bearings compared to micarta and barrel spacers, that type of thing from the QSP penguin. But I do think it's a little steep on that. Aesthetically, Joe was like, yeah, I like the 460. I like the 462. Whereas I'm like, yeah, I don't like the 460 or the 462. So I don't like this knife either aesthetically. I'm like, yeah. So that's where the 5's middle of the road kind of thing came in, right? Pocket ergos, yeah, it disappeared in the pocket. It was pretty thin. If you want to get nitpicky about the ridge on the thing, the screws are countersunk, but the clip isn't, I think, or no, vice versa. Sorry. The clip is countersunk, but the screws aren't. Yeah, so you're still getting ridgy. So pocket ergos things, or ergonomic preference, sorry, on the personal side is by far where it excelled. I put that in my hand, and like Nigel was talking about, everything just evened out and straightened. I was like, yeah, this thing fits my hand really, really nicely, like mini Crooked River nicely in that same category type of ergos. So yeah, for me personally, that's, but enthusiasm between the tolerances that I saw that weren't that hot, as well as just the Persian-y thing on folders, at least for some reason, fixed blades, it's more okay in my world. I don't know. It's personal. I'm allowed to score it that way. It's a 3. So yeah. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
So yeah, Jill, you should do some spreadsheet magicking.
There's that.
Magicking.
There is that.
And get it tossed in, and I'll get it tossed up on the board here too.
Absolutely.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
There you are.
Oh.
Well, if the audience has any questions about this particular knife while we're building it up.
Doing some tabulations.
I will say, if you didn't get one with the lemon, this knife probably would have scored a lot higher.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. But like I said, the hitting the blade was the big one. I kind of want to joke around about this being a little bit of a bailout heat treatment situation all over again when it comes to just being like, no, shit the bed on this knife. But I think, yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily shitting the bed. I mean, I gave
it's not as bad as our 0 enthusiasm scores on
No.
a bailout.
No, and we all, I mean, we each gave it a couple of 8s at least. Some of us even gave a few 9s. It's not like we disliked this design outright.
Yeah.
My initial score before I recalculated actually was 8s across the board on the personal side.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And if you do happen to be unfortunate enough to get one with a lemon in it, don't try to make lemonade with this knife. I don't think it'll taste very good.
Well, you know.
How good is your blender?
What is it that Dennis always says? Don't try to control me.
The JG10 does look like it has more nutritional value than, you know.
It tastes like melon.
Yeah. That Rex 45 orange G10, that does not look like it has anything good in it at all. Like, that's food
asbestos.
coloring. Or the purple S110. That one tastes like purple. I guarantee it. It's, yeah.
And burning.
True story.
Mr. Fisk says on a scale of 1 to 100, he gives it 3 resting hubcaps.
That reminded me that I need to go back and actually formulate a score for all of this garbage. It's been a while. It's been a while since random story came up, but I don't even remember what there's giraffes, I think, in there somewhere. I don't even remember.
Washing machines.
Oh, God.
There's definitely washing machines at one point.
I hate it. I hate it so bad.
As you should.
No, but I agreed to do it. That's what I hate about it.
Did you agree to do it, or did you just suggest it?
Oh, he volunteered himself.
No, I said I'll do it. I'll make a score chart. Yeah. There's decimal points involved, though. So are we starting over? Are you doing an overall list, or are we...
I'm just throwing it in. I'm taking it into the overall list for now, just to make things a little bit easier. But I will start a second scoreboard sheet for all the new stuff if you guys want.
Sure.
So the Gobi...
You can do that afterwards. Yeah. What was the score for it?
It ranks in at a 70.
Just an even 70?
Just an even 70.
Fair enough.
Which puts it...
in range with a friggin' ranch boss.
Yeah. Again, mountains and valleys. There were things that were really liked about this knife and some things that were not really.
The Chris Voyager beat it out by 1/4 of a point
Damn straight
from
it did.
last year. From last year, for the record.
Yep. And then while we're doing the scores, and
I don't
noticed
even agree with that.
And I noticed you had it there, Joe. What
Yeah.
was the odiums?
Oh,
Because we didn't get that up onto the scoreboard, but
that
we
was
may as well because it was a 2021 review. Yeah.
yeah. Good point. That's a 773.75.
Yeah, that's a little more redeeming, for sure.
What is the odium? Okay.
Yeah, 73, that makes me feel a little bit better about John's contribution to our reviews.
So yeah, there we go.
Sorry, John.
Nice.
I like the knife.
Same. If it wasn't
Down?
for the self-harm, I think I'd be on more on board with it. Because again, that action is awesome.
So, one other question I have as well is, how much are you considering for the guys here when we're scoring as well? But how much are you considering the top 3? And does it deserve to be into a top 3? How high does it deserve to be compared to last year's scores? How much more are you doing that with like this review? Maybe not the odium so much, but
Nope, because it was always the intention that we weren't comparing the knives against each other. We were just reviewing or scoring that one knife. So that's what I think of.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The only time that I will look back at another knife is if I'm like going, what did I score something else with similar materials or something like that? Because I want to be consistent in that regard.
But with the So yeah, I'm basically saying with the X factor of where does it deserve to be now in the list. But yeah, it's something that I pondered as I was scoring it, was like looking back at the old list and seeing that it's there and stuff and going like, where does this deserve to be? And I don't think I necessarily gave it where it deserves to be. I think it deserves to be over top of a Chris Voyager, and I scored it lower than a 70. I scored it, what did I score it? 68 or something like that. Yeah. So,
but
68,
also
yeah.
keep in mind that the personal factor takes up half of our scoring, so
50.
you got to keep that in mind too.
Yeah. Don't worry about where it should be. The math will tell you where it should be.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't want thinking about it against the rest to influence my decision as far as...
No, it's something that I like thought about as I was scoring this knife and wondered how much the other, like you guys were thinking about it. Like the same.
It would take a lot of work. Basically, we'd have to do it again, but I am kind of curious to see our personal feelings versus our objective markings, seeing a ranked list without our personal
Mr.
feelings
Please.
attached.
Is shouting out in chat, what the fuck? We aren't comparing scores against each other. Everyone gets a participation trophy. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I'm sparing the knife on its own merits, and then wherever it falls in that list is where it deserves to fall in that list.
Yeah. We are getting every knife to have its own score, and then we're comparing it against each other. We're not comparing. Like as we're scoring one knife, we're not comparing it to the top 3.
We're not working backwards. Yeah.
I wasn't saying that I was, or I would not have given it a 3 for enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's something I pondered, and so I was just curious if you guys had thought about it now that it's becoming a little more formulated, tabulated, things like that, right? So yeah.
Ben saying in chat, same as the Top Gear run. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's slightly inspired by, if you couldn't have told.
Just a touch.
Does that make Joe James May?
Yep.
I decided that I'd like to go on a tour of Kyoto's historic shrines and temples. And of course, you can get a guided tour. You can follow someone with a sign on a stick, along with some Americans in funny trousers. But instead, I've decided to go for RoboHon, your digital, experimental, futuristic tour guide.
I don't know
Which
if
one
I should
of
be
us is
upset by
the
that or not.
hamster?
The only reason that you should be upset is because of how true you know it is.
Dude, I've seen Top Gear once when I was very small. I do not remember that movie.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
Oh, Joe.
It's a TV series.
Isn't it also a movie?
No.
It's Top Gun.
Top Gun. Sorry. Yeah.
Joe,
Top something.
Or
Top
Fame Joe.
Top Gear is the
Hey Joe, can you
car
mute yourself for the rest of our call?
No.
For shame. Yeah.
So where do we go from here?
I think we go to break. I think we go to break and banish Joe to his basement and put Top Gear on the
Continuous
52-week long stream so he can just learn it.
You have upset Justin in chat, Joe. I just want you to know.
Hooray! No.
Don't worry, we'll punish him for you.
Uh-oh.
That's the right answer.
So yeah, before we head off onto break, gonna make sure to remind everyone to like and subscribe and share and do all that sort of stuff to help us grow the channel. If not, you will be cursed to... Shit, I had something there and then it just popped out.
To watch reruns of Top Gear and Top Gun with me.
No, watching Top Gear reruns
every
is a
meal.
good thing. That's not a curse.
The Top Gun is.
Yes, you will be forced to watch.
I like the
Have a good
implication.
night, Darren.
That's funny. Take care.
See you there.
On that note,
Yeah. Does anyone else have a good curse quick off the top of their head? Because I'm blanking on what I had in my mind.
I don't know, man. Sitting through some Tom Cruise movies is pretty bad. It's like maybe that's the curse itself. After Top Gun, just
just Tom Cruise shows up at your door. You can't turn him away. He's got a visit
you're
with
going
you.
to hang out with him for a few hours.
Yeah.
And then you were a Scientologist.
You get vanilla skied. That's what it is.
I don't want to.
Too bad.
You could count that as slang for whatever you feel like, but
I don't want to.
I feel like going on break.
Yeah. So before we try to ravel through unpackaging that in further, we're going to head off onto break. So make sure to fill up your drink, empty out your bladder, and we shall return shortly with everyone.
We don't need bigger knife. Yeah.